Now, it is time for a special edition of Frenemies. The only person that Nick Wright and I would allow under this umbrella is our good friend from college in the group chat, does a great job at 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, Andrew Fillipponi. We both come from the world of sports radio, so we begin in the very dangerous world of Philadelphia sports radio, where Eagles legend Jason Kelce made known his thoughts on A.J. Brown and all of the off-field drama that the wide receiver brings to Philadelphia. Take a listen.
It's incredibly frustrating, right? I think any player that's out there, when you're seeing a teammate not go all out, like that's all you want from your teammates. And that's all we want as fans. And it's a really hard thing to optically watch. I think part of it is that he's a great player and, teammates want him there and know that he can be a dominating force for them. But, those frustrations, he's just the unfortunate player who allows his internal frustrations to manifest into his play. And it makes him play worse, it makes the offense worse, and it makes his energy worse.
Pony, I thought that was really well said by Jason Kelce. What do you think the Eagles should do with A.J. Brown this offseason?
Well, first of all, shout out WIP that they can still get Jason Kelce in studio with them.
As a radio guy, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, in studio. That's a great job by them.
So he's either still getting paid bigly by WIP or he's doing that out of the goodness of his heart. Either way, tremendous that he's there and he's willing to say these things. I have done a 180 on this, and you don't know that because we have not talked about these things since we no longer do a podcast together. But I have for a long time been a big Jalen Hurts guy. I have given that up. I have switched. I have done a real kind of character change on this, and I would actually look to move Jalen Hurts before A.J. Brown. And I understand that that is a very kind of strange admission on my part because it's the quarterbacks who make the wide receivers and not the other way around. Danny, right now, I am leaning in the direction of saying, actually, I'll say it. I think we've seen Jalen Hurts' best football already. He turns 28 this summer. I think we've already seen him at his apex as a player. He's an expensive player. He doesn't want to throw the ball over the middle. Their offense, with offensive line injuries, with Saquon Barkley not being an elite player last year or as good as the year before, we saw Hurts take a tremendous step back. And I don't think it was only the offensive coordinator. So to me, I know you can't do these things quietly, but I would actually see what I could get for Jalen Hurts this offseason if I'm Howie Roseman.
So listen, this is one of those things that sounds great on WIP and it sounds great during frenemies, but like in the real world, can you trade Jalen Hurts? Like trading a Super Bowl MVP who is 28 years old, who signs the largest contract in franchise history, I don't really have a comp off the top of my head for it, but to be clear, because I'll go down the road with you, I think A.J. Brown is a better receiver than Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, right? So I do agree that A.J. Brown is better at his premium position than Jalen Hurts is at his, and that if you do trade A.J. Brown, that is the football equivalent of shooting the messenger. Because like what he was saying was, hey, we need to be better at passing the ball. And like we're gonna. This is ultimately gonna stop us from winning if we cannot produce more on offense. So like I think A.J. Brown was a truth teller, even if over the last couple of years he has done it in ways that you would not love in terms of chemistry and generating good vibes for your football team. But is there any way, like in reality, that you could see Philly actually doing it? Because it seems too impractical to me.
Well, I don't know about impractical. You're right. There's really no precedent for it. But we're talking about Howie Roseman, who is, I think, by nature, the most aggressive general manager in the NFL. I think he tends to do bold things. Yeah. I don't think he's a guy who rests on his laurels and just kind of sees what's going to happen. If there's anybody that would break the mold and do something outside of the box, I think it's him. I think the question becomes, even though we hear all the time about how there's 5 to 10 teams that always need a quarterback, would somebody want to take his contract on? How in demand is Jalen Hurts? Because, look, I don't think they're going to win another Super Bowl with him. I just don't. I think we saw last year the biggest most puzzling thing about the Eagles offense, in addition to how the middle of the field is just off limits, his rushing numbers went down incredibly. Lowest since his rookie year, 421 rushing yards, only 8 rushing touchdowns. If you remove more of the dual part of his game, I think he turns into a very average quarterback. So A.J. Brown is probably going to be the guy that gets moved, but I don't really see how that fixes things at all for the Philly offense. You take away a source of controversy and angst and stress like Jason Kelce was talking about, but you're also getting rid of a guy that's probably at worst a top 10, top 15 wide receiver. And I don't see how that magically makes your quarterback now freed up and now he's more relaxed because he doesn't have a guy on the sideline telling him, throw me the ball. Danny, I think there's a chance, I'll make this comparison too. After Joe Flacco signed that contract following that magical run with the Ravens in 2012, he won only one more playoff game with Baltimore, but they felt like they had to pay him, which I think is the same exact situation that we have right now unfolding with the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know how you, the only way you justify moving on from A.J. Brown, because my guess is that Philadelphia just has a higher tolerance for discomfort, and they're fine letting us talk about it because he's definitely not top 15. I think he's somewhere between top 5 and top 10, and he's been a dominant receiver for them for the last 3 years. My guess is they just grit their teeth and bear it, and they bring A.J. Brown back next year. But you're 100% right. Jalen Hurts is regressing, and they've got to figure out a way to get playoff Jalen Hurts to perform for them during the regular season. But you're right. You plugged it. We used to do a podcast together, and so you and I have not talked in a public forum, Pony, since the Super Bowl. And it was a fun Super Bowl in the sense that before the year, neither team was expected to be there. Like the Patriots came in, they were at a 60-1 odds at this time last year to win the Super Bowl. So I will ask you this. Which long shot team has the makeup, has the formula to become next year's Patriots?
So they were 60-1. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl at 60-1 as well. That's where they were preseason. So last year was the year of these off-season underdogs, teams that nobody gave a shot to. I have always been, one of my favorite things to do every offseason is find the second-year quarterback who's going to make that second-year leap and designate that my Super Bowl team or team that comes out of nowhere. Mahomes in his second year, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow go into the Super Bowl.
Caleb Williams.
Even Trevor Lawrence, Drake May last year. I mean, there's tons of guys who have done this. So that's why I like the Giants, Danny. I'm a guy that believes the New York Giants, with Jackson Dart in his second year, we saw him have a 91.7 passer rating last year. Malik Neighbors only played 4 games. Look at when New England went from an incompetent coach in Gerard Mayo to a guy with a track record in Mike Vrabel, what he did in Tennessee. I'm not the biggest John Harbaugh fan. I find him to be very smug and arrogant, and I think he underachieved, frankly, with Lamar Jackson. But in my opinion, I think that the Giants, 75-1 right now, I think they can win double-digit games because Jackson Dart is the QB I see taking that big step forward this year.
So they're going to be everyone's worst to first pick because Malik Neighbors is a stud. Even if I agree with you completely that John Harbaugh underachieved with the double-digit leads that they blew, underachieving relative to seed in the playoffs, which their owner talked about at the press conference when they justified the firing of John Harbaugh. My biggest pushback would be if John Harbaugh couldn't break through and win with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, why do I expect him to do it with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo? I think they will be better, and I think Jackson Dart looks good, but it's hard for me to imagine that this guy's going to do it with this caliber of talent if he couldn't do it with the caliber in Baltimore.
But I'll answer that question for you. Lamar Jackson is one of the worst big game quarterbacks in NFL history among upper crust players. He's terrible in big games. He's not good against the Steelers, his arch rival. He's horrible against the Chiefs. His stats plummet in the playoffs. That's a big reason. He had Mike McDonald there as the defensive coordinator with John Harbaugh. They couldn't sniff a Super Bowl. He was terrible offensively in that home AFC Championship game against Kansas City outside of one throw he made in the first half of this game. I think it stands to reason Jackson Dart is a more clutch player and a guy who shows up in pressure-packed games more than Lamar Jackson. And you know that. Come on now. Lamar Jackson is not a guy who delivers in January, and Jackson Dart might be one who does.
Keyword there, might. Right. We have seen Lamar Jackson underperform in January. We have yet to see Jackson Dart in January, period. So we do not know that Jackson Dart could do it. But I will say, though a lot of the conversation about Jackson Dart was, this guy plays reckless, this guy gets too many concussions. You actually go back and you watch the extended highlights of his season, the 27-minute thing that NFL Network put out, he is really impressive. Like, arm talent, mobility, creativity, off-schedule throws. Like, I do think there's a very high ceiling player in there in Jackson Dart. The question is Matt Nagy and John Harbaugh the guy to get it out of him?
Well, you know more about Nagy. I mean, that's a great question. I don't think I think their defense is going to be much better too. I mean, let's look at that for a second. With Abdul Carter, you've got Dexter Lawrence had a half a sack last year in 17 games. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. If they're just an average defense, I see them potentially winning with a last place schedule 10 or 11 games next year, Danny. That is my pick for a team. You're right. They're going to be very trendy and popular. But I think the coach-quarterback combination we saw in New England worked, and I see it happening in New York this season as well.
And you said 75-1? I would take that. I would take that return on investment.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Fillipponi, 93.7 in Pittsburgh. It's been giving out winners to me since college, and a lot of losers as well. LeBron James, he added another record, 22 consecutive years as a all-star selection. Did not end up playing a ton last night, but of course made his appearance. He spoke on his future at All-Star Weekend. He also said when he knows, we will know about his future in the NBA. So, Willie, is it more likely LeBron retires or lands somewhere else?
I think he's going to retire.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
I think you're talking about a Laker team who realizes that this is probably his last run as a Laker. They're not building this team around him. They're going to build it around Luka and Austin Reeves and continue to figure out how they can fill some holes. Nevertheless, LeBron, I give him all the credit in the world to play as well as he's played. He's averaging 22 points a game. He's been absolutely phenomenal at his age. I don't think we've ever seen a guy at his age play this well and this great. But I think at the end of the day, his home is LA. This is. I think he's accomplished everything he's needed to accomplish. I think he's answered all the naysayers. I think right now, if you're LeBron James, is what else do you have to prove? Because I don't honestly know what brings him back. Right? Is it a healthier roster? Is it more pieces to kind of? I think he realizes this is it, and I think he also understands to some degree maybe he's kind of burnt that bridge a little bit with front office, right? Because they've given him everything he's ever wanted and needed, and this is the product right now. They're fifth in the West. Going forward, they're not going to beat a Denver. They're not going to beat the San Antonio Spurs. They got bumped last year by the Oklahoma Thunder. So if you're talking about what this team looks at for the next 5 years, I think he knows and the front office knows it doesn't include LeBron James a part of that picture.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm with you on that. I can't see him with the Lakers again, but I don't think he's done. I definitely think that they are building around Luka, and they should build around Luka. And LeBron at his age doing what he's doing. I mean, he had a triple-double the other night.
He's phenomenal. I don't take nothing away from his play.
It's and he's a basketball genius, and he's a chameleon. He can figure. You need me to be a passer. You need me to be a scorer. You need me to do this. He will do whatever is needed on the court. It's a remarkable thing. I cannot see him playing for a fourth franchise. I don't think he's going to go try to learn something new at this point of his career.
So then you have to question what's your why then.
But the Cavs. I think it makes so much sense, and I can talk the basketball reasons of the Cavs here in a second. But also, watch LeBron his whole career, right? Like I went to a All-Star game when he was in high school at the United Center.
You went to a lot of games, DP.
Dude, I very, very proud.
You've been outside for a while now.
Yeah, no, but I saw LeBron in high school, watched his whole career. He's a remarkable athlete, and he does like attention. Like he's the chosen one, right?
Did you hear his statement? He goes, "I just want to live."
Yeah, right.
But he holds everybody hostage because I think this question has been following him for some time. Like, if you know the Lakers are coming to, or you're coming to the end of the road with the Lakers, you want to possibly land back in Cleveland for a team who's ranked fourth in the East, who I think has a lot of potential with Donovan Mitchell. But that would mean other people will have to move aside for you to be there. Well, there has to be a reconstruction.
Yeah, so right. So that's the basketball piece of it. Would LeBron take a discount. He basically never has.
He's making $51 million this year.
No, I know, but he's also, no one's ever made more money playing basketball in the history of the sport.
Facts.
Like, he has his company, he's launched all of his friends' companies, they're all wildly successful.
Everybody eats.
Right. Like, now he is still worth, based on his production, $40, $50 million. And then what he's actually worth in terms of tickets, merchandise, box office interest, he's worth well over $100 million, right? So he has never really, took a little bit in 2014, took a very small one with the Lakers for a minute. But like, would he be willing for his last year to play for the minimum to go try to win a championship where it all started as just a kid from Akron in Cleveland, and go play with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? If he's not willing to play for the minimum, the Cavs are going to need to trade Jared Allen.
Right.
And that obviously weakens them in the front court, and it weakens them defensively. But Mobley is still great, and I think that they would still make that trade-off to bring in LeBron James because he's LeBron James. But I think everything that I know about LeBron and his career and how he's operated in the media space, I'll just be floored if the season ends, they get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. He's like, I'm going to take some time to think about it. And then 4 weeks later, he announces on Instagram that he's retired. Like, I think we're going to get the farewell tour and the long goodbye and the celebration of his career.
But see, I think that's unfair to a team like Cleveland, who has momentum, right? Who's competing in the top 5 in the East. When you bring along LeBron James, it's about LeBron James.
Yeah.
It's about the tour. And I get it, right? We watched him in Cleveland. He's kind of having a stoic moment. The people are on their feet. They're cheering. He's getting emotional. He's crying. We've never seen that aspect from him as far as being emotional. And you can tell Cleveland is home. It means a lot to him.
Yeah.
But if I'm Cleveland and it doesn't work out, and you've had to make all these moves when you've had momentum the last 2 years, it would feel like an epic mistake. It would feel like, yeah, we're doing it just because the hometown kid wants to come home.
Well, but he makes you better. If LeBron James plays for you on the minimum contract, he makes every team in the league better. If he plays for you for $50 million, it's a different conversation. And again, I don't know that he'd be willing to play for the minimum.
And he won't.
Maybe not. And especially like him and Dan Gilbert, I went back to look through the quotes. He's like, we have a fine relationship. We have a business relationship. Obviously, it was really rocky.
Water underneath the bridge at this point.
The first time he left Cleveland, looks at it as, so I don't know that he'd be willing to give Dan Gilbert that type of, what would amount to in terms of real value, like a 9-figure 1-year discount. But LeBron he's very attuned to what his story is. And
he's always controlled this narrative.
Right. But so it's a pretty great story to bookend your career as the kid from Akron who got drafted to the Cavs, who brought the championship to Cleveland, to play one last year in Cleveland and do the farewell tour. It's a pretty great end of the story. And so while I don't think he's going to be a Laker, and I certainly don't see him doing a new franchise like the Knicks, and Miami's not good enough, going back home to Cleveland for the goodbye, I think, makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but when you watch a happy ending, when you watch a story, you want to see a happy ending. If he doesn't win, right, and this thing doesn't go according to plan, now we're looking at LeBron as a loser, right?
I don't think so.
We're looking as a guy who we sold a bill of goods to, saying, hey, man, you come to Cleveland, we have this Disney-type ending, and if it doesn't land, we're like, well, thanks, LeBron. Nobody wants to go out like that.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, he's not going to go out a champion this year. This Lakers team cannot win.
Facts. I agree.
I know people, listen, it's the Lakers and it's Luka, and Luka dragged that Mavs team.
And they need a big. They don't have a big. There's a lot of things holding them back.
And the deadline's gone.
Correct.
So they cannot get good enough defensively this year to win in the West. So he will not win in LA this year. So he's already, to use your word, go out a loser. I don't think that will tarnish it. And if he plays for the minimum, man, it'll be like the narrative will be, man, LeBron did it for the love of the game.
Yeah, but I also think when you see what he's able to accomplish by bringing Bronny in-house, him walking off the court finally, his final goodbye, whatever that is, as a Laker, feels better to me than landing in Cleveland and it ends bad.
Maybe. Walk off the court with your son, also a great
100%.
end to the story. Let's get back to the NFL here, talk some Cowboys, where it's been reported that the Cowboys plan on franchise tagging wide receiver George Pickens. The franchise tag window opens tomorrow, but the deadline isn't for a couple of weeks. NFL insider Ian Rappaport noted, though, that Dallas may be willing to entertain trade offers for Pickens once he's tagged, suggesting that even a second-round pick might be willing to get it done. Willie, do you think it's better for the Cowboys Cowboys to keep George Pickens or trade him this offseason?
Well, you don't get rid of a 26-year-old alpha receiver. Like, it just doesn't happen. I fell in love with George Pickens this year because I felt like he finally found a home with Dak Prescott and CD and that whole offense. What scares me about Pickens is, and there's an old adage, I don't know if you ever heard it before, you can't feed a full tick, right? Like, if you give him his money.
You always have great sayings.
Well, you know, I'm privileged. I guess it.
I saw a lot of games. You got great sayings. Can't feed a full tick.
Well, I've been on punishment a lot. But I would say this. What bothers me, I go back to the game against Detroit when CD got hurt.
Yeah.
And he got knocked out. And they called for him to show up. This was a moment I was like, man, finally, he's going to have the stage. In Detroit, he's going to have this big monster game. He's going to rally this team. They're going to get after it. They leaned on him. They couldn't find him on tape.
Yep.
That's what bothers me. So there's no question.
So isn't that a reason to trade him?
No.
The fear of giving him money
No, because
and then he's going to do the knucklehead thing again?
No, because if you're Jerry right now and this Dallas Cowboys team, I know the Eagles are probably the favorite to win the division, but if you talk about they revamping this defense, now you have Dak, CD, now you're talking about Schottenheimer in year 2. I think the Cowboys are a dark horse next year. I think they're a legit threat, especially offensively. Now, they can do some things in the back end. I think they can be a lot more better team, and a team that can pretty much show up in the playoff time. You don't get rid of George Pickens because what he means to you offensively. He blows the top off defense. He's a mismatch nightmare. So I think you keep him in-house. You try to make it work. I would franchise tag him. I'll keep keeping the carrot over his head, keep chasing it, and get the best out of him.
So listen, I think that a smart, like economics-based, analytics-based approach is, hey, we traded a 3rd and a 5th for George Pickens. Yeah. He gave us a career year in catches, yards, and touchdowns. He was 2nd-team All-Pro. And then we trade him for a 2nd-round pick, and then we get a 2nd-round pick, and then we use that money to sign a guy like Alec Pierce in free agency, who's a really good receiver, but he doesn't have some of the effort issues or those types of questions. Like, I think that is like a really fundamentally sound, smart way to run a professional football team. And it doesn't sound at all like the Dallas Cowboys. I think you could like right brain talk yourself into that being the logical thing to do. But my gut, what I think is going to actually happen is they're going to offer George Pickens the franchise tag. It's going to come right up until the deadline. And then he's going to reluctantly accept it. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be talking about him missing minicamp. And then we're going to be talking about missing and then we're going to talk, no, of course, and talk about missing OTAs. And Jerry is going to talk about wanting to sign him to a long-term deal. And Pickens isn't going to
agree. Sounds very on brand, by the way.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like painting the story
of
consistency with the Dallas Cowboys.
To the production room, I would like us to please, control room, can we get a scoreboard somewhere in the studio for number of times we do? What are the Cowboys going to do with George Pickens this offseason? Because it was the same with CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
And it was the same with Micah. And it was the same with Dak. And what Jerry will do is he likes the drama of the offseason. So like George Pickens is going to be one of the main characters of drama of the offseason. He'll ultimately play for Dallas, ultimately be a distraction, and I'm sure produce because he is a wildly talented football player. So my expectations is that they will keep George Pickens, but this is not going to go smoothly.
Right, but I would also play big brother for a second for George Pickens and tell him fit matters. He fits in Dallas, right? When you have Dak Prescott and CD and that combination of guys and the momentum you were able to acquire at the end of the season, you have to feel like next season, man, we can make a legit run. He lands on another team. I don't know if he's going to have the same type of production because mostly a team that can pay for a guy like him is not necessarily a good team, right? They have money to spend and cap to kind of use.
Well, and remember, he was a first-round talent who fell to the 2nd round because of some questions about character and discipline.
100%.
So a 1-year, fully guaranteed $28 million deal, it is the biggest contract he has signed. Like
I'm not taking the money away from him.
Well, no, but I'm saying like he might, while all players want a long-term security, 1 year fully guaranteed $28 million is not a bad deal for
the bag is the bag, but you also play to win. And you want to go somewhere where you can win. Just because the money's great, not necessarily you're going to win. That's every guy in free agency deals with that.
Yeah, well, I expect him to be in Dallas, and I expect it to have a lot of turbulence on the flight, I would say, to get there. Another interesting story, big report today coming out in Jacksonville that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're planning to make Travis Hunter a full-time cornerback and a part-time wide receiver. We can look at his stats after his rookie year, and they were what he was, right? Played 7 games, honestly a massive disappointment given what they traded up from the 5th pick to the 2nd pick. But in terms of just the plan, scrapping the idea of full-time two-way player, full-time corner, part-time receiver, do you like this plan going forward for Travis Hunter?
Yeah, it's pretty dumb that we've now come to this conclusion when this should have been the plan once he left Colorado. Like, I felt like this should have been the plan.
Yeah, you and I disagreed on this one, but you're looking more correct than I am.
Yeah, because I think it's harder to play corner in this league. It's a bigger adjustment. If he would have had a year under his belt where he was solely focused on a position, I think he would be a better ball player, and the Jaguars would be in a better position rolling him into this position. I think it's easier to adjust at the receiver position because of packages and situations and formations you can allow him to eat. Nevertheless, man, when you talk about a guy now dealing with a knee injury and potentially losing Craig Newsome to free agency, that's going to be an issue. There's going to be a lot put on his plate to show up. I think he's a world-class athlete. I think he's a stud. I think he could do things that a lot of guys on the field can't do that are built like him at his position. Nevertheless, when you look forward to his upside, I would take away receiver. And to be honest, and I know it's hard. I'd be like, well, Willie, you focus on one side of the ball. For me, it's necessary for this defense because of how we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars right now and what led this team to have the potential and go into Denver and beat Bo Nix and that team was their defense. Trevor Lawrence had a big game, but it was the defensive side of the ball that stood up. So to stabilize this defense, man, I would say, young fella, we know what you can do, but this is what we need. We need you to be a lockdown #1 corner for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, you can say that what I'm about to say doesn't matter because it's about the past and it's a sunk cost and you just need to move on. But if that happens, it was a terrible trade. And it was a terrible pick because you traded up from 5 to 2 to take a corner. That's ridiculous.
But I also
they gave up the 5th pick, a 2nd rounder, a 4th rounder, and their first this year, which is the 24th pick in the draft. Like, you don't give that up for a cornerback. Like, he needs to be Patrick Surtain. He needs to be Devin Witherspoon in order to live up to it. And
Patrick Surtain plays one side of the ball.
No, I understand. But I'm saying the level of corner that he needs to be in order to justify just being the 2nd pick in the draft is, like, you need to be a top 2 or 3 cornerback in football. Plus all the extra picks you gave up to get him. So, like, I'm glad to hear they are not abandoning the idea of him at least contributing on the offensive side of the ball because the only reason to justify that trade-up is if he is a truly special, transcendent type of player.
I think it's good to have options. I love that he has the ability to play receiver. But when you talk about possibly losing Craig Newsome, as I mentioned, possibly losing Devin Lloyd, the star linebacker for that team, for Jacksonville, you're going to show up. You have to show up this season. Because, listen, the Jaguars, their record gets harder next year, right?
The schedule,
The schedule, excuse me. Like, they play the AFC East. I know they'll probably walk through that. But they got the NFC West, right? We know what the NFC West looks like from a quarterback standpoint and receiver standpoint. You're going to need this kid fully invested. And you got to worry about volume. You're already dealing with a knee injury. As he get older, more injuries, more things happen. So, for me, I would tell this young fella, I love what you can do, but this is what we need you to do. On your side of the ball.
And I understand. You remember when Brandon Staley took over the job with the Chargers, and he was like, I'm going to go for it on like every 4th down.
Yeah.
Right? He was super aggressive. And he went for it, and he went for it, and he went for it. And then for a while, they weren't converting. Their conversion rate was below average. Mm-hmm. And then he stopped, and he changed what he was. I was like, oh, man, you got...
He was having breakdowns at pressers. He was having mental breakdowns.
Right. Well, and then your team starts looking around like, wait, what do you actually believe in? Like, but Dan Campbell, he would go for it on 4th down a bunch, and then even if they would fail, he would keep going for it on 4th down because he really believed in it. If Jacksonville believed so much that Travis Hunter could be a transcendent player on both sides of the ball, that they were willing to trade up from 5 to 2, and it was their general manager's first ever pick as a GM, and then 7 games into his career, you're abandoning that plan entirely?
I don't think it's abandoning, DP. I think, like, listen, if you're serious about going to the playoffs, making a deep run in the playoffs, you need your best player on the field. You put him at the receiver position, at the cornerback position, that opens up more windows for him to get hurt, especially coming off a knee. He's going to have to adjust to that. And he's going to be most likely guarding another team's #1 receiver. So my point, limit the risk, right? Limit the risk if you feel like you have a playoff outfit that can make a run. You know why you lost to the Bills? Because you had some miscommunication on the back end. Your secondary couldn't hold up, and you watched Josh Allen put on the cape and beat you in Jacksonville. So I'm looking at this and say, hey, kid, I love it. All right, I'm glad that you have the Wi-Fi and extra Bluetooth and you got the 2 TVs in the back. But I just need to get home, right? And the home is the Super Bowl. That's the goal. And we can't get home without you. So if I can limit those risks and have you when it's ready to go, when we need you on the field, fine. That's what I'm willing to sacrifice. That doesn't mean I can't go to you when I need you.
So you wouldn't give up on offense entirely, but just master one side of the ball first?
100%.
Okay. Listen, it's reasonable. I just don't want them to abandon it because I was still hoping that he could transcend the sport.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.